Coming up, you're going to hear about the Coast Guard's operations and mission on San Francisco Bay.
Tonight on North Bay Report. Good evening and welcome to North Bay Report. I'm Curtis Kim. Well, one advantage to where we live is the close proximity to the Pacific Ocean and San Francisco Bay. For commercial and recreational boaters, it's a wonderful and plentiful resource, but commands a big responsibility, boater safety. Myles Cameron takes us on patrol on a Coast Guard vessel.
The United States Coast Guard is the nation's oldest maritime agency. The history of the service is interesting because it is the combination of 5 federal agencies. Those agencies were created in the 18th and 19th centuries and include the Revenue Cutter Service, the Lighthouse Service, the Steamboat Inspection Service, the Bureau of Navigation, and the Life-Saving Service. All were originally independent but had overlapping duties. They were finally combined under the umbrella of the Coast Guard in 1938. The multiple missions and responsibilities of today's Coast Guard are directly tied to the diverse heritage of these historic agencies. With the emergence of new technologies like the global positioning system in the latter part of the 20th century, lighthouses became non-essential and many stations were decommissioned. Though lighthouses are practically obsolete, the Coast Guard still must tend to other navigational aids like buoys and markers. And considering all the shipping and boat traffic on San Francisco Bay, proper navigation is critical.
The Bay Area in general has got its own unique weather problems. Fog in the summertime, swell in the wintertime. That, and you have major current in and out of the bay twice a day. You know, with at times a 6-knot current that can come in and out of the bay poses its own challenges. That and all the traffic that's all over the place, all the sailboats, all the big container ships that are coming in and out of the bay. So there's a lot of weather factors.
Intercepting contraband had been the Guard's prime mission from the Revolutionary War through the first half of the 1800s. During the Civil War, Union cutters patrolled for Confederate commerce raiders and provided fire support to troops ashore. In 1861, the Union's Harriet Lane fired the first naval shots of the Civil War. On April 21, 1865, cutters were ordered to search all outbound ships for the assassins of President Lincoln. In World War II, the Coast Guard operated as part of the Navy. Guard personnel manned a variety of amphibious ships and vessels, from the largest troop transports to the smallest attack craft. The Guard landed Army and Marine troops in all theaters of the war: North Africa, Italy, France, and the Pacific. Today, of course, the Coast Guard plays a major role in the enforcement of homeland security at our nation's ports. In the aftermath of the attacks of 9/11, the Coast Guard in New York Harbor was one of the first military responders, providing security and rendering assistance to those in need. That mission continues today in the form of search and rescue operations.
Search and rescue takes up probably 50% of our resource hours that we accrue annually is going out and responding to various cases, whether it be windsurfers becalmed by the weather, or people broken down, or vessels on fire taking on water, people in the water, surfers in distress off of Ocean Beach, Stinson Beach. So yeah, search and rescue takes up probably about 50%. Usually when we're not actually conducting search and rescue, we're training for when it does happen. So training's probably another 30%, coupled with law enforcement.
From its beginning, high-sea search and rescue has long presented the Coast Guard with one of its greatest challenges. In the 1980s and 90s, the Coast Guard saved thousands of lives by responding to numerous refugee boat lifts from Haiti and Cuba. This work has continued into the 21st century. On average, the Coast Guard is called out for various rescue operations 57,000 times a year, saving 3,500 lives annually. Which brings us to the issue of boating safety. Every year during the month of May, the Coast Guard has what's known as National Boating Safety Week. But in reality, the Coast Guard wants to let everyone know that takes to the waters that they should be concerned with safety every week of the year.
There's a lot of programs that we have instituted. We do a lot of recreational boating safety boardings where we actually will go out and physically board other boats to check their gear. We do a lot of education along that line, just advising people of what they're required to have in the bay. We also have a lot of teamwork with the Coast Guard Auxiliary. They do courtesy inspections for us.
For 70 years, the volunteer organization known as the Coast Guard Auxiliary has existed. The auxiliary with the regular Coast Guard has significantly contributed to the awareness of safety issues. The Coast Guard's philosophy toward boating safety has always been to educate the public rather than carry out punitive measures.
Definitely you need to have your life jacket. That's priority number one. It's actually an offense if you don't have a life jacket on. There needs to be one for every person on the boat. Definitely understand you should have a navigational chart, a radio that works, or a fully charged cell phone just to be aware of where you're going in case the weather changes or the fog rolls in, as it typically does here in the Bay Area.
At Fort Baker, for North Bay Report, I'm Myles Cameron.